everyone! So this week we're going to learn about one-point perspective, and we're going to make a one-point perspective landscape drawing. Alright, so there's a few different vocabulary words that we're going to learn with one-point perspective. The first one should be review for everybody, and that's horizon line. So I'm going to take my ruler, and about 1/3 of the way down the paper, I'm going to just draw a horizontal line, so a side-to-side line, across my paper. And I shifted my ruler a little bit, so I'm just gonna fix that. So I have a nice horizon line, like that. Okay. So, this is called a horizon line. The horizon line is where the land meets the sky. It's the dividing line between the land and the sky. And so that's a key piece of any landscape, is the horizon line. And then about in the middle of the horizon line, I can do it anywhere, but for this work today, we're going to put it in the middle. I'm going to put a dot. This dot is called the vanishing point. So the key in one-point perspective, the one point is this. This is the vanishing point. We use this to make things look like they're going back in space and to show depth in our artwork. So what we're going to do today is draw a landscape that has a road, and that road is going to look like it's driving off into the distance. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to line my ruler up with my vanishing point. If you don't have a ruler, you can just draw without one. And I'm going to draw a line that goes from the vanishing point all the way off the edge of my paper. And then I'm going to do another one that goes from my vanishing point all the way off the edge of my paper, just like that. So I have my horizon line, my vanishing point. These are called converging lines, but if you don't have that word memorized, it's okay. To make the dashes in the road, I'm going to very lightly do 2 more converging lines or guiding lines that are closer together, like this. I've made them dotted because I'm going to use them to make my dashes in the road. So I don't want them to be solid. If it's too tricky for you to do them dotted, that's okay. But try. And what you do is you use a horizontal line across. Horizontal is parallel to the top and bottom of the paper. And you're going to connect them using these lines here. So you can see I'm finding those lines and connecting them. I'm actually going to have this one go off the page. So that looks like the dashes in the road going further off into the distance. So already you can see this illusion of depth that we're creating, depth, deepness. Like my art, I could step in it and I could go back in space. I also want to think about how things that are far away stay really small. So maybe off in the distance there's a city, and I can do some rectangles to show a city skyline. Maybe that city is Chattanooga. I can do the aquarium. But do you see how small it is? That's what helps it look like it's far away, because as things go further away or farther away and closer to the vanishing point, they get smaller. So even if I had a tree along the side of the road, all the way over here, that would be really, really small, because it's so far away. But if I have a tree here, it might even be so big that I don't even see the whole thing. It goes off the page. Maybe I have a branch that overlaps in front because of where my viewpoint is. I want us to start to move away from lollipop trees. So I'm going to think about how a tree has different branches, and I can do an organic shape for the leaves. And you can make that as detailed as you want. Now, because the tree is overlapping the horizon line, I want to erase the horizon line that would be hidden by the tree. So I'm just going to erase that and redraw where I need to. Maybe add a few more branches. And because I have leaves on my tree, I might not see every single little branch. They might kind of get hidden by the... So that's how to draw a slightly more realistic tree than the lollipop tree. When I talk about a lollipop tree, this is what I mean. Whereas this is more true to how a tree might actually look. The tree is also overlapping my road, so I'm going to erase this part of my road. And you can see that this tree is really big and this tree is really small, and that helps with my illusion of depth. Okay, on this side, we're going to do some power lines. Now, this is a little bit tricky, but also really cool. So I'm going to take my ruler, and very, very lightly, I'm going to just do a little dotted line that goes from the vanishing point to somewhere above the horizon line. And I'm going to just lightly draw either a dotted line or just a very, very light guiding line for myself. Hopefully you can see that on your screen. Now, I want to draw lightly because I'm going to end up erasing some of it. Now I also want to do another one that goes from the vanishing point out to here, because I don't want these to immediately touch the road. But I'm going to draw some power lines that follow the road all the way into the city. Now, a key thing to remember here is the difference between parallel and perpendicular. So tell me, which of these sets of lines are parallel? A, B, or C? If you said option B, you are correct. These are the parallel lines. Parallel lines are pointing the same direction. If they kept going on and on and on forever, they would never cross each other. Whereas this, if this kept going and this kept going, it would cross each other. This is actually a perpendicular line. Perpendicular is when they create a right angle, which you might know, you might not know that yet, but perpendicular is usually horizontal and vertical. They're going to crisscross, and you could fit a square in between them. That's perpendicular. But the important one to remember here is parallel. So your brain is going to try to do a trick on you, in that when we are drawing our power lines in one-point perspective, your brain is going to want you to slant them. You're going to want to draw them like from the road and out this way. Don't do that. No, 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 no. I like to do the ruler scooch method, where you line up the ruler with the edge of the paper, but you are going to want every power line, every vertical line, to be parallel with the edge of your paper. That can be how you check it. So if you have a ruler, the easiest way to do this is to do the ruler scooch, where you line it up, scooch it over, check and make sure it's parallel, and you're going to connect this guiding line to this guiding line. I'm going to scooch my ruler a little more, and even if you don't have a ruler, you can still check, is this line as parallel as you can to this line? You also want to make the power lines a little bit closer together as they go further away. This is a concept called foreshortening. And you want all of them to be parallel to each other and not slanting at the road. I'm going to do one more right here. And I'm just going to go in and make them, give them two edges, because we want to think how any object that has mass has two sides. They're not just lines in space, they're objects and shapes. I'm going to erase the horizon line that's hiding behind them. I'm going to give them a top. which follows that guiding line as well. And then I can even do the power lines by doing a swooping line all the way to the vanishing point. Once I've done this, I can erase those guiding lines that I did. To make it look more clean. And there you go. Those are some power lines. I may even do a few lines, like maybe one is electric, one is internet or something. I don't know how all that works, but I just know that there's usually more than one cable. Cool. So you can see I have power lines going back in space. I might even shade them in. Or you could wait and give them a color later on. All right. A couple more things. I'm going to do a medium-sized tree back here. So think about how overlapping can really help you as well. Another thing is a lot of places the horizon line isn't actually a straight line. Growing up, we would always drive, I have family in Indiana, and we would always drive to Indiana, and there the horizon line is pretty flat. But in places like Chattanooga, there might be some hills along the horizon line, which I like to draw with just a wiggly line. So you might decide to add some hills. And I'm actually going to put a car that's going down the road because that sounds like fun. And I'm actually going to have it coming at me. So the way that I like to draw a simple car that's coming towards me, because I don't see the side of the car because it's driving down the road. So I'm going to start with the hood of the car, maybe put some lights on it. I do a trapezoid type shape here. Little U shapes for the wheels, ovals for the mirrors. You guys see the inside mirror or the steering wheel. And there's a person in my car. A windshield wiper perhaps. Might see a little bit of the top of the car, but not too much. I can draw a little car. I'm going to put a little sun up here. You want to try to move away from the corner sun and do a full circle sun. You could add some rays if you wanted. You could do some clouds. You can add any details you would like. You may even want a little plane up here, but the plane is really tiny because it's so far away. You can add all sorts of details to it now. Any kind of details you want. If you wanted to add more trees or some animals off in these fields, anything like that. But anything on the horizon line is flat. Anything that's coming towards you has got some 3-dimension to it. And remember, the things that are closer to you are bigger and the things that are further away are small. So next week we will add color to these and talk about some different coloring techniques. So make sure that you put these somewhere to the side where you can revisit them next week and work on color.